Hello there, people of the internet. I'm going to start off this video by just full out saying, use whatever you want. No one else can tell you what you can and can't use, unless, of course, you're inside of a country or a state that is a little bit more tyrannical than I feel like they should be. But for the most part, most of the people watching these videos are American, and most of your states, you can pretty much own whatever it is that you want with a handful of exceptions. But use whatever it is that you want. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. All of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give some 2 cents inside of this video that might be a little controversial, and it might rustle some jimmies. So, I'm out here range plinking with my Mosin Nagant. This is just a 9130. I'm having fun. I'm shooting stuff and just sending lead down range. Mostly just out here turning that car down there into gravel piece by piece. I have a piece of steel out there that I've been shooting at, and I got it angled just right to where as rounds impact it, all the shrapnel goes up and just tears pretty much everything apart down there. Ah, I missed that one. But anyway, this Mosin Nagant, well, I've made many videos about this Mosin Nagant, along with various other Mosin Nagants that I have. And I've made several survival rifle videos with these rifles. And I've made a bunch of videos talking about what the best survival rifles may or may not be. And I've had a lot of people go down in my comments and tell me something along the lines of, the best gun is the gun that you have. And that is just not true. That is somebody lying to themselves, trying to cope with the fact that they don't have the best gun. Now, what it is that they actually mean is that having something is better than nothing. Doesn't matter what gun it is that you have, it is going to be a better than nothing firearm. But that does not make it the best firearm. And me just saying that, somebody's going to pause the video, go down in the comments, leave a comment, and not hear anything else that I have to say. So, there's an old adage, a 22 long rifle on your hip is better than the 45 ACP that you have at home. That being said, you having a 45 ACP at your house does not make your 22 long rifle more effective. Your 22 long rifle on your hip is still a 22 long rifle that you have on your hip, and it is going to do the amount of effect and the amount of damage on your target that a 22 long rifle is going to do. And obviously a 45 ACP would do significantly more damage to that particular target. So the 22 long rifle you have on your hip is a better than nothing option. That does not make it the best option that is available. It's not the best option that is out there. That is just things that people tell themselves because they either don't want to go out and source a better option, they want to just use what it is that they already have, so they tell themselves, hey, this is the best option for me because it's what I have. And that's just not the case. That is just a better than nothing option. That does not make it the best option out there. This style of mindset normally revolves around people who either don't want to spend money to get something better, which I don't understand, because you can get a lot of capability for not that much money out there in the world. It's normally used by people who have something and have used that particular thing for their entire life. And that's something that I also hear very often. Oh, if something bad happens, I'm just going to grab my lever action. And there's arguments for why lever action might potentially be a really good go-to, but that's a topic for another video. But they're just like, I'm going to grab my lever action, or I'm going to grab my bolt action, or I'm going to grab my XYZ thing here that is more often than not a previous generation style of firearm. And they say, I'm going to stick with this because I've been using it my whole life, and it's all that I know. And there's definitely an arguing point for that. However, that does not make that the best option. That just makes it the best option maybe for you at that particular point in time. But the beauty about time is it is constantly moving forward. The beauty about time is we have the opportunities to learn new things. And the issue is we have people tell themselves, I'm going to use this because it's what I know. They cope with that versus going out and learning a new system. They just don't want to invest the time, effort, money, whatever it is that they don't want to invest in, into this new system, which oftentimes is a significantly better platform. There is a reason why, in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for? Most military forces, unless we're looking at like some third world country style of military forces, there's a reason why most military forces have moved on from your old school military surplus style bolt action rifles. And there's a reason why no military forces really use lever actions of any kind. There's a reason why we have moved on to a more modern style of firearm. And it's the same with handguns. There's a reason why militaries don't use revolvers anymore. There's a reason why militaries oftentimes don't use single stack magazines inside of their semi-automatics anymore. There's a reason why most militaries around the world are using a 9mm projectile of some kind. Now, there are some exceptions to that, but that is kind of beyond the scope of this particular video. But my point is, there's a reason why we are using the things that we are using, and oftentimes it boils down to those things that are being used are better in terms of capabilities than the previous generations that people are coping with, telling themselves these excuses as to why it is that that is the best option, and it is simply not the best option. You are just trying to give excuses to not get a better option. Now, I understand it. I get it. Bias and preference oftentimes dictates what it is that a person is going to decide to use. If you are an old school military surplus rifle enjoyer like I am, you might decide to use old school military surplus styles of rifles for whatever XYZ situation. And if you're a United States citizen, odds are that old school military surplus rifle is going to be far effective enough to handle pretty much anything that anybody would need to come across. Now, all of that being said, just because it is good enough to handle a situation does not make it the best option. Just because it's all that you have does not make it the best option, especially if you will have the ability to go out and get something better. Just because it's all that you know does not make it the best option. That is just you not wanting to go out and learn something else. And like I said, I understand. I have certain things that I've been using for my entire life. And although I am well adversed at a variety of different platforms, and you stick pretty much anything inside my hand and I'll be able to run it pretty reasonably effectively, I know that there are better platforms out there than others. And we see that time and time again with what it is that the world is moving on to. So if you tell yourself this is the best option, just keep in mind that it's probably not. It might be good enough for your particular situation, and you might be of the mindset and just deciding to yourself that you don't want to move on to something better. But man, you got to stop telling yourself that it's the best option, because there are better options out there. There's good enough options out there. That's probably what it is that you have. There's the things that you know. That's probably what it is that you have. And it might be the only thing that you have. And it might be the best option out of the things that you have. But that does not make it the best option. Now, maybe you do, in fact, have the best option for your particular situation. Maybe you have some kind of legality issue it is that you're dealing with. Or maybe it is that you have some kind of, I don't know, some kind of situation where you legitimately have the best option that you can think of, in which case this video is not for you. If you have what you truly believe is the best option, then my hat's off to you. You know, you do whatever it is that you think is going to be the best for you. This video is not targeting those people who legitimately have the best option. It might not be what I would consider the best option, but for your particular case with what it is that you're doing with your lifestyle, it may legitimately be the best option. There's so many different variations and so many different lives that people are out there living. The United States is a huge, huge country. We have all sorts of different political spectrums and biomes that people live in, environments. We have all sorts of different critters that people come across, all sorts of different people that people have to deal with. There's no like, hey, this is the best option for everything. There's really good options that can, handle most of the things that most of the people would need to handle. But there's always going to be the outlier where, hey, this is the best option for my situation because this is the job that I need this rifle to do. And those are specialty purpose rifles. Those are not your general purpose rifles. It is, hey, you need a rifle to do this job, and this is the best option to get that done. That is not the people who it is that I'm talking to here. The people who I'm talking to here are the people who are coping with themselves because they have XYZ obsolete rifle or obsolescent rifle because, let's be honest here, there are some rifles out there that are old school technology that are still going to be quite capable in terms of handling the things that most people need to handle. But they'll sit there and they'll tell themselves that this right here is the best option for them because it's what they have. And that's just not the case. You can go out and you can get something better, especially with the modern technology we have available today, and especially at the price points that we have this technology available. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to the people in the comments section who may not know any better. Man, you can do better. I don't care what it is that you're telling yourself. I don't care if you're going to sit there and tell yourself, this is what I know, so this is all I'm using. You're allowed to go out and learn new things. I have met, as a matter of fact, I've met several people who tell themselves, this is what I know, so this is all I'm going to use, and I'm not going to go out and learn anything new. And they do that on purpose because they know if they go out and learn a better system, then it's going to prove that the system that they have believed in for their entire lives is now an older technology that is not as capable as the newer stuff that they are afraid of learning. And that's a scary thought. And I get it. There's certain things in life, not necessarily even gun related, where I'm like, hey, I have known this for my entire life, and I do not want to change it up. And that is definitely a scary and uncomfortable thought. But just because it's scary and just because it's uncomfortable does not mean that it's something that you should ignore or even blatantly lie to yourself about. You should always be learning. You should always try and be the most effective that you possibly can be. And I don't care how old you are. I know they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I don't care how old you are. You have the ability to go out and learn something new. And you have the ability to decide to yourself to go out and get something new and get something better than what it is that you're telling yourself. You're lying to yourself, this is the best option for me, just because you don't want to put forth the time, effort, and or money to do better. And quite frankly, that stagnation that we see so predominantly across this country, not in just the field of firearms, is one of the reasons why this country is just absolutely not doing well. Because people have gotten to the point to where they have found that absolute fine line of good enough, and they don't want to put forth the effort necessary to do anything better because what they're doing is good enough. And like I said, that just falls into so many different categories that I could probably go on tangents and rants on that are way beyond the scope of this particular video. But no, the rifle that you have is not the best rifle. That is just a better than nothing rifle unless you legitimately have what you believe is the best possible option that you can get for your financial situation, your legal situation, whatever sort of situation it is that you're in. And hopefully I don't upset too many people with this video. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode. I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.